Hello everybody, today I have another video for you all, hooray, and in today's video, I thought I could review a new set for 2024, the LEGO Creator 3-in-1 Space Astronaut. Now, when I first saw this set, it kind of stuck out to me for a few reasons, which I'll get into in a minute. But yeah, so at first glance it turns into so the main build is a space man, astronaut, and then a dog, and a more sci-fi looking space shuttle. Yeah, without further ado, let's get into the review. Now, right out of the box, here's the figure in its entirety. So yeah, it's a pretty heavy figure. It's pretty bulky, pretty decent. And first thing I thought of when I saw this was one of the main reasons why this stood out to me and why I wanted to get it was because it reminded me a lot of the buildable Marvel action figures that LEGO's been making. There are a few differences. You can tell like the proportions are a little different, and this one's just a lot bulkier. Another thing that stood out to me another thing that's different about it compared to the figures is that with Iron Man here, which is customized but still built very similarly, the studs and like the way it's built like this with the studs facing this way and the back facing that way. But now with this figure, it's built more upright with the bricks facing like this. So that automatically makes it a lot more bulky because this, well, it's built with mostly plates. This is built with mostly bricks, making it a little more sturdy and heavy compared to this guy. This guy does have a light brick inside of him, so he does have a little bit of weight due to that. Now, the jetpack can be removed. Looking at the back of the jetpack, there's some thrusters and some lights and stuff. Presumably what's supposed to be like a reference to like an American flag or something. It can be removed, and just taking a closer look at the jetpack. It is kind of, since it's a 3-in-1 set, it's a lot of times there are some parts of it that are left a little underdone, and this jetpack seems to just be like the remaining pieces, just kind of thrown together. The jetpack has two arms on the front, both on ball joints, which you can fit into the arms of the astronaut. And on this side, there's a little like joystick to move around, like basically angle and position and move the jetpack however you want. Then on this side, there's like a little like location thing, presumably to keep track on where the space shuttle or spaceship or wherever he's trying to go, just like a computer. Presumably this is like a smart jetpack and like it's designed to be spatially aware. And these can actually be folded up for storage. Now, looking at the astronaut alone, it's a pretty decent build. It's a lot bulkier than a normal figure, which makes sense because it's a astronaut, and normally astronauts are very bulky. His head is massive compared to these figures, which again also makes sense because it's an astronaut. Turning him around, again, this figure has been customized, but just kind of a comparison. The back it's a little flat, it's a little underwhelming. It looks okay, like directly from the back, but like directly from the side, it doesn't look too good. Like, as long as you're not looking at it directly from the side, it doesn't look too bad. Now, down here, you can see like it's not built evenly. There's this little peg, which is designed to fit into this included stand, like that, which I will show off in a little bit. Looking at the back, it's not as clean back here, but you can see where the joints are. And I do appreciate how they're a lot more covered on this astronaut compared to some of the other buildable figures like this Iron Man. They're kind of out in the open, so it makes it feel like a robot. Although it is customized, even on the original build, the knees are exposed like that. So yeah, the hips are also a little exposed, but there's not really much you can do, otherwise it just kind of blocks all the articulation. So The articulation on the leg is a little limited, but you can fix this just by removing this one little white piece on the end, which does allow for more movement, and you could even pull it out a little bit to get even more movement, just like so. Another thing about this figure is that the arms feel a little stubby and short compared to this. I mean, all the figures kind of have stocky, short arms. This Iron Man figure has been customized to have longer arms. Here is a not customized figure, kind of just a comparison of what you'd expect. Like, this is a more recent figure, and the arm problem has been fixed on it, as you can see. So although they have fixed the problem, it's a very similar, almost identical build compared to the other buildable figures. It's still quite different because the proportions of the astronaut are a lot different compared to the normal figures, and this Batman figure probably has the best proportions out of all the figures. So putting it next to this astronaut really starts to make you realize how awkwardly proportioned these figures are. Now, when I was looking up this set to see if I should get it, I noticed that there were these two panels and stuff to flip up that you could use to open up the front. Now, looking at the box, noticing that there is a dog with googly eyes and a face, I was assuming that there was going to be some sort of cartoony looking face underneath this. I was kind of bummed that I didn't get to experience this or discover this myself. I ended up seeing this in a review. But when you flip it down, I was surprised to see not a face, but an empty compartment to where you can fit a figure inside. Now, I don't really have any figures right here, but I have a Nixel we can fit in there and close it up nice and neatly. So yeah, now he's inside. It was actually kind of confusing because I do kind of wish we got a goofy cartoony face with the pieces they included here with the dog, but I actually don't mind this because you can create some crazy stories or something, maybe make your own Marvel character being like, maybe like the ghost astronaut or the ghost spaceman. And like everyone's wondering, and everyone's like, oh, who is this guy? He's so mysterious. And then eventually they reveal that he's not human, but actually a tiny little alien guy. I was me all along, and I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids, or Avengers in this situation. Now, I'd like to quickly talk about the articulation on this guy, which is actually pretty decent. So, here on the shoulders, you have some ball joints, which have a lot of freedom, and feels very realistic, especially considering that this is an astronaut. The elbow, I don't know why they do this, but like they lock it at like this 45-degree angle, and you can only really move it so much. Again, it is an astronaut, so this angle doesn't feel too bad. With the wrists here, it's pretty decent. The hands are weirdly bulky, but it is a kid's set, so whatever. One thing I noticed that it was asking me in the instructions on how to build it was that the fingers here, this is how it asks you to build it, but if you look closely, you can kind of see some stress happening there on the side. Just the sides bit, you can kind of see it pushing away a little bit, just a tiny bit. See, they don't line up evenly, and they kind of shoot outward a little bit. It's a little more noticeable on the top, where like they're not against each other neatly. Yeah, the set actually asks you to build it like that. I'm pretty sure this is an accidental illegal Lego connection. I'm not sure what like the stress limits on clips are for Lego pieces, but that does seem to be an illegal Lego connection the way that is. So I've been making sure to spread out the fingers a little bit whenever I pose them. He's got some waist rotation, which is actually kind of surprising. I didn't think that he would have this. I thought it was just going to be one solid brick that couldn't move. I already talked about the legs a little bit, but you can kick full back, which is impressive. And you can actually go back quite a bit, which is impressive. Again, the front is a little limited, but yeah, whatever. I already talked about it. The ankles are pretty decent, although they are So they go in and out pretty well, but they don't go front and back very well. So you can get some pretty okay poses out of it, but the articulation is kind of limited. But you got to realize that he's an astronaut, so his mobility wouldn't be that great. So I don't really mind the lack of articulation, mainly because he's a bulky astronaut. Coming down here to the chest, you can see like this little keypad and stuff, presumably to control like the oxygen levels and whatever other things. There's some tubes that lead to the back, and when you connect the kind of jetpack thruster thing backpack, they won't connect to it, but like they'll line up and make it look like as if he's connected. So presumably these are designed to connect to the jetpack, so like maybe presumably to give him more oxygen or whatever is on the jetpack. Back here you can see these two dark gray little clip things. These are used to connect the jetpack. Back here you can see the little peg thing that where the stand will go, which I'll talk about in a minute. And also all around this figure you can see like little red and blue little details, which I can only assume are supposed to like reference some sort of like American flag or something. A lot of Lego's space related stuff is kind of based off of American space stuff. Again, I'm not too in tuned into like space history all that much, so not 100% sure, but the red and blue leads me to believe that it's supposed to be referencing an American flag. Just want to show how the jetpack connects. So first thing, you take the jetpack and you move the two arms out of the way, and then you take these two clips, they're 2 studs apart, and you connect them to those 2 little pegs back here. Clicks in with a very satisfying click, and then you just line up the arms, which will sit on, this arm will sit on the little joystick, and then this arm will sit on the little keypad, just like so. Now you can see that there are even more lights added on, and makes the figure feel a little less awkwardly proportioned when it's on. Kind of just hides the thin lower half and the bulky upper half, just kind of makes it all blend into one mesh. He does look a little better from the back with the jetpack on, mainly because it just like adds a little more depth with the jetpack. Now that I have the jetpack on, I just want to show what he looks like with the stand. It's pretty simple to put the stand on. You just take that little peg on the stand and a little peg hole on his back, which I've already showed a few times already, and he's basically just rests on it. Now when he's on the stand, he looks very nice. I like how it puts him at an angle, kind of like he's floating in space. It is pretty easy to replicate what's on the box right here. And I don't plan on showing the other builds, but I would assume they're pretty decent. I might build them at some point and just like check them out, but I don't plan on reviewing them. He looks extra nice on the stand. He doesn't click onto the stand, he just sits, so if you move him too much, he could fall off. And the stand is not, it's a little top heavy, he doesn't sit very well. I've already had him fall over once before. Although he didn't break, he's like a sturdy brick. Putting him next to the other figures. One thing I really enjoy about this is that one thing I like about this figure is that it allows me to kind of make my collection of these buildable figures more widespread. Like, it's not just Marvel and DC, but like there's other characters and stuff being added. Although one thing I've learned is that apparently these figures are very unpopular, and they're going like stocking up shelves and like holding up shelf space, and like no one's buying them, so they're all on sale, which is better for me because I get to buy them all for myself at very cheap, easy prices, and customize them the way I want, because since they're so cheap and easy to get, I can easily just buy a dozen and customize them to be whatever I want. So if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and subscribe, and go check out my community tab because I post there occasionally as well. And today I didn't plan for this to be too long of a video, just a simple review just to get out, just to show off like how Lego's newer sets are doing. And yeah, until next time, bye bye.